What is up, Eastern Oregon? This is Doddsy, and this is your sports show for Thursday, December 16th, 2021. Man, this show is going to be pretty unique. We're bringing back Wrestling Wednesdays. So one time a month on a Wednesday, we're going to put out a show with Clell Carson, the LHS wrestling coach, Blake McNall, who's coaching at EOU and out at Elgin, Dustin Azure, who's the head men's wrestling coach at EOU, Carlene Slabersky, who's the head women's coach at EOU, and Max, her husband. I don't know his last name, but he's the women's coach up at the high school. And we're going to sit down one time a month, and we're going to talk wrestling in the Valley. We'll bring on other coaches from the smaller schools in the area. But today, you guys are in for a treat today, because this one today, I know it's not Wednesday. I had some stuff going on yesterday, and I couldn't get this out. But this is Wrestling Wednesday that we recorded in the past and haven't put out yet. And, man, it's a treat. This is all brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress right here in La Grande. On Elm, off Adams, big red rocking chair. You can't miss it. Their showroom is immaculate. I was in there yesterday, and there was a couple people in there checking it out, and they were just talking about how good the showroom looks, and it really does. The Daggett family, go see them. Northwest Furniture and Mattress right here in La Grande. I'm just going to talk about EOU real quick. Like I said yesterday, there's games this weekend. Women play at 5. Men play at 7:30 on Friday. And then I do believe it's 6 and like 8 on Saturday. You'll just go back and look at the post and you'll see, or go to EOUsports.com. LHS is playing tonight at 7. The varsity starts. They're playing Vale. So get up there and go watch these this boys team. They're good. They're ranked 9th in the state. Baker comes in on the newest poll at 8th in the state. So the 2 GOL teams making some waves right there in the state polls for 4A. EOU Softball. The preseason polls came out for EOU Softball. They're going to start the season ranked 5th in the CCC. Let's hope we can move our way up and end up making this tournament this year. It'd be awesome. I'm super excited for what Nicole Christian's got going on there. It's one of my favorite teams up at EOU. Let's go, ladies. Mount up. All right. No further ado. Man, this episode, we recorded it quite some time ago, but man, it's so awesome. I haven't released it before. Dustin Azure, Blake McNall, Clell Carson, former La Grande wrestler and ex-Mountie Alex Nelson, and I mean, National Wrestling Hall of Famer Verl Miller. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Clell Carson, the head wrestling coach of the Grande High School.
I'm Dustin Azure, head wrestling coach at Eastern Oregon University.
Hi, I'm Blake McNall. I'm the assistant wrestling coach at Eastern Oregon University.
And this is Doddsy with EOAlive Sports. You're watching Wrestling Wednesdays. Let's go.
So welcome to the first official show of Wrestling Wednesdays. Today we have 2 special guests with us today. Alex Nelson, he's actually my next door neighbor growing up, but he wrestled for Verl Miller at La Grande. Verl was a longtime coach at La Grande. He won 2 state championships, and he's also in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. And so we're just going to kind of talk about how we're all connected. And so like I said, he was my neighbor growing up. And he was also the coach at Gladstone, which they were giving me a hard time for wearing this shirt. But he coached at Gladstone, where I ended up going to high school. And he was the coach of my high school coach. So wrestling is just super small world and super connected. So talk about maybe how Verl is your coach.
Yeah, sure. I think the big thing is that Verl got a hold of me when I was about 8 years old. And, from that moment on, it was a life changer. He got a bunch of ragtag knuckleheads here in the city of La Grande, and we sort of bonded and came up through a 10-year period there where we wanted to compete, sharpen each other, push each other, and we'd wrestle anybody, anywhere. And, a lot goes with that, I think, both on the field and off the field. But more importantly, instead of, sounding like a Bruce Springsteen song, Glory Days kind of thing, I think the most important piece there is that the building blocks, the foundational blocks that Verl helped us form have affected us as adult men. And I don't say this, lightly, but he used to say, I don't want you sitting around when you're 40s and 50s, years old, talking about state titles and that. I want you to go out and be good people, be good workers, be good husbands, be good fathers, and careers to the community. That said, awful lot of pride in the Grande wrestling, and yeah, I took that over to Gladstone and coached your head coach Mike Hess, and full circle comes around.
Michael, so, his dad's Mike. He gets mad about that.
Mike Hess, you. Yeah. So anyway, if it's talking about wrestling in La Grande and those experiences there, it was a real blessing. I had gone through, and Verl, like many, I probably speak for many, was a very instrumental figure in my development. I went into education for over 20 years and then administration, but I think about my coaching style, my teaching style, whether he likes it or not. It'd probably give me a hard time, but it had a profound impact. Whether it was high school football, I went on to coach at Gladstone, went on from there to coach at Canby High School, both football and wrestling. You coach how you were coached, and developing those relationships. And so the cool thing about growing up here in La Grande, we did many things outside of the venue of the wrestling mat. Because many times, when you're competing and you're conditioning, it's what I call shared misery, right? A lot of sweat, a lot of blood, a lot of tears, and you push each other through that. But the other things that we did that I give Verl so much credit for, if kids didn't have money, they were cutting wood in the summer to make money for camp. I learned how to water ski with all those kids, with Fred Arnst, who I think the world of, was assistant coach, and Verl as well. And then, I've got fun memories of the teams on the weekends going over to Verl's house with his wife Marilyn and chastising each other on the videotapes. If we didn't perform well, you had a group castigation, I guess, over not using good technique or not being aggressive enough. So ultimately, I could go on and on and on, but I'll just suffice it to say that he's had a profound lifelong impact on not only me, but more importantly, the community and coaches that are continuing on that legacy. And I'm so proud. I'm proud of what you guys are doing, and I know where it came from.
I mean, I agree with you, Alex, that, oftentimes, people ask me, what's it like to coach after Verl Miller, right? I get that question a lot, or, everywhere you go, back in the day, hey, wrestling used to be, and what's that like, and, what's it like to coach, and in some regards, I think you do end up like coaching how you were coached, which has got me in trouble a little bit along the way. I think that I'm the one that's blessed, because I didn't go somewhere else, or I did for a little while. I was in, Roseburg and other places for a little bit, but Oakland. But I feel like being in La Grande, I'm the one that's blessed because, hey, Verl Miller is still Verl Miller to me, and I talk to him every day, and he's like my dad, and in fact, when my dad passed away, Verl stepped into that role for me. He became my my first call, and hey, stuff happened in my life, or good and bad, I still call Verl. Hey, when I don't, it's something's going on in practice and I want to try to make it better, or I want to try to improve on it, he's my first call, and he always comes and he always has ideas. He doesn't come into the mat room. It's been years, since he's come into the mat room, but I always call him when stuff's going on, and hey, what does he have for ideas? And I try to, we're talking about the wrestling community, right? I mean, we help each other. I mean, Dustin and I bounce ideas off each other. Blake and I talk every day. Hey, what are good games we can play to keep kids' interest in this time, and what are some ways we can become better coaches? And I just feel fortunate to have Verl more as like my father figure, more than anything else, and I just feel blessed to be here and be a part of that, and to share that with him, and in the good times and the bad, right? They're not all, you don't always win a state championship, but you can always make good people, you know what I mean? And through the sport, I think that we try to do that in LeGrande Wrestling, and that was something that, he definitely set the ball rolling for that, and it's something that's blessed my life, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I mean, people often ask me, who's the most famous person I know, and I say Verl Miller. I mean, I got off an airplane one time and I had a shirt on it that said, a little shout out to Marty Reeser. Hey, thanks for the Reeser tournament. Anyways, deal here. You say LeGrande Wrestling. I get off the airplane, and came out LeGrande, Oregon, and I'm on an airplane,
Where were you?
I said, yeah, I don't even remember really, somewhere tropical or something. He said, and the next question was, do you know Verl Miller? And it's like, I can't tell you how many times that's happened, and he really is, man. He's the most famous person I know, and better than famous.
You're making Verl blush.
Anyways, as time's gone along, he's got kind of bad at some things, so like playing cards.
He's
wipe
that off your nose.
Take an ass, stuff.
So Verl, follow that up. Who's your favorite out of these two, I guess?
Hey, I don't like either one of them.
Yeah,
No,
fair enough.
when I first came to LeGrande, it was a program that was kind of down. Things weren't very good, and I had been wrestling in high school and college and for the Mat Club there in Portland. And I had a desire to give kids the same experience that I had when I was going through the things that I learned. I was only one in my family to graduate from high school, and people just didn't know how that is. But hey, because of my wrestling coach and stuff, taught me to set a goal, hey, to work towards that goal, and those are the things that'll help you in your life. Not all the other stuff. And when the first year I came to LeGrande, Chloe's mother was pregnant with him, and his brother, who was a senior in high school, was my #1 wrestler, and so it was a great experience. And Alex, he's a great team member that he was, a great guy, remembers everything, doggone him, but. The goals and stuff, the team that he was on was a great team. It was maybe the best dual match team that I ever had. But they had, maybe should have been the state champions. They ended up, Alex hurt his neck and Verl tore out his knee, and we had 25 points sitting at home. We only lacked 3 or 4 points to be in the state champions.
Just had to go win one match. That was a life lesson. Yeah. Painful as it was.
Hey, but that's the way life is. It's not always easy, and what makes me feel good is that I see, and I've met Dustin, who was on the hiring committee at Eastern Oregon. I'm so proud of what he's done so far over there. It's a great deal. And Blake, I got to watch Blake. I knew his dad, and it's just, it is a family. What makes me feel good is to see the wrestling team healthy. I wanted Chloe Carson and his team. It's not Chloe Carson. It's Chloe Carson and all his assistant coaches and all the kids that he brings in there. And he's able to lead those kids forward and have them set the goals and stuff. What I saw at LeGrande this last few years has been outstanding. Great kids, great people, hard workers, respectful, all the things that you want out of your youth. And with Clell, came a long ways as a coach. It takes 30 years to become a good coach, and then you're over the hill.
Hey, what are you saying?
You're just about there.
Yeah, getting closer.
No.
Getting closer.
No, and the best coaches sometimes they're not the best wrestlers.
Thanks a lot.
No, I didn't mean it that way.
It's true. It's true.
Hey, because sometimes they didn't reach the goal that they wanted to in wrestling, and when they have that, it leaves a burning desire. Something is left, and you weren't able to do it, and it goes in your coaching, and you're willing to put the time in, and you know what it takes to be a champion. You know that you can't be selfish. And anyway, but hey, I have had a great time at Grande High School. Grande, the town of Grande, I couldn't think of a better place to live and to raise my family, and I was lucky to have a great family too. Having good support at home makes a big difference both for the kids and the coaches and each other.
I just wanted to add to that. I think that you nailed it in one word: family.
Yeah.
It is. I could be 3,000 miles away. I get that phone call from Rodney Hawthorne or Kelly, and we pick up right where we left off. And some people think, that is. I look at Clella, we talk, and it's powerful stuff. It isn't that you're living in your past. It's those people with those shared experiences there of hard work, and you want to see what they're going to do when you spread those seeds out, But we all know where it came from. So you are so loved, probably more so than you know. That's what's cool. So
yeah, that I was really fortunate to have great assistant coaches. Fred Arnst was my assistant coach for 15 years. Tom Kenny, or just at Kelly Edvilson. Hey, those are all people that had a lot to do with the success at Grande High School, and it was neat with them. It was neat to see Blake here, watch him in his wrestling, because you never knew what he was going to do, and it was always exciting. It was going to roll through, do some kind of something, and pull it out.
Oh yeah,
he knows how to pull it out.
It's probably hard for him to watch sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. But he did have some good mat sense. Like, he knew where he was at in the match all the time. Sometimes you overthought things, and that's sometimes wrestling, you just gotta let it go. And Blake started figuring it out, and he's there, and he understands what's going on now. I mean, it's fun watching Blake get out there and help coach our guys too, because he recognized that as an athlete for himself now. And sometimes you're talking like you reflect back and start thinking about things that you messed up on that you want to fix with other wrestlers. And you still have that desire just to help other people improve and keep getting better. I never got to reach my goal of becoming a national champ in college, but I know the places after a lot of reflecting, just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I could have done this a little bit better. Could have done this a little bit better, change up my lifestyle a little bit here. And so just trying to, you already made the mistakes that we don't want our athletes to make. So it's fun to go back and reflect on that.
And that's where you're able to help out. And the other thing is it's ever changing. Hey, the technique, sometimes they improve, sometimes it goes behind. But everybody's, you have a leg rider. Some guys, Kelly Edvilson's not a very good leg rider. You got Todd McDaniels, who's tall and thin and has the flexibility. He's he's able to put the legs in and do the job. So you got to analyze stuff. But like I say, he's kept me going a lot. Clell has. He brings me in, has me come down and watch, and it makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
To add to that, Verl was a master in the practice room of not letting you take, anything easy. We had an athlete, Rodney Hawthorne was my teammate, state champ. His big brother Clarence was a state champion, and not only was he a state champion, he pinned his way through district, pinned his way through state, which your coach Michael Hess did that. That's very rare, very rare. I remember challenge matches with Verl, and I was a 145-pound freshman. Clarence was the full meal deal, and there wasn't a challenge match. And Verl says, "Hey, Clarence, Alex is going to challenge you." Right, he's got real big, and he said, "Okay," and I said, "Okay," and he whispers in my ear. He goes, "Hope I'm not on tape." He goes, "I'm going to beat your," right? And that's a fun way. I say that out of love. But you get back to that whole iron sharpens iron. It really did. But I'll tell you what, around the school or the community, we were family. Mm-hmm. And you took your hits like that as well. Or I think great ones like Cal Thomason was a state champion, and he's passed on. God bless him. I was still healing up from a knee surgery and came back from college to practice a little bit with Cal, and I just on our own time, and that was a good thing. And Verl would chide Cal, and he'd say, "Thomason, you say you want to be a state champion? You're getting cradled, right?" And so it was. Verl knew where to push those buttons to get you to work harder and motivate. So. And sure enough, he went through and won a state title that year.
Hey, you know, the trouble with it, when you got to get all the answers, you're too old to do anything right. But it takes a long time to be a coach. You don't learn how to handle the kids, the technique, and all the other stuff. And so much more goes into it, and all the paperwork that you have to do. Hey, all the fundraising. Fundraising isn't fun, but hey, it's necessary. And so,
it's true.
Anyway, it's been a privilege for me to be at LeGrande, and I thank Clell for kind of just keeping me in to watch in case something Girl Scout something here gives me some little thing to do, so it makes me feel good.
Hey, the classic last year, I look at his notes and I'm like. He had so much stuff on there. It's like, no, it actually helped out a lot. So I was just thinking too, you know, we are so blessed in LeGrande to have the help, you know. I mean, we have, you know, he mentioned it, but man alive, I mean, that's the one thing, like, I think, you know, when I was a wrestler, you know, there was always someone in the room that was helping. And, you know, whether, you know, I remember, you know, Rodney coming up to the room, you know what I mean, and guest appearance, or way back in the day, or, you know, thinking about the different coaches we have now. I mean, thinking about the assistants that I've had, you know, Walt Anderson, amazing guy, who's helping at the college now doing, you know, women's wrestling, and still helping us, and still involved in wrestling. And, you know, he did weightlifting last night, you know, and you think about all these guys, and, you know, these different people that, you know, Tom, you know, helped me for, you know, however long, and, you know, and Miles Hancock. What can you say about that guy?
Boy, yeah,
I mean, Miles has done so much for the program, and then, you know, John Tuck now, and, you know, Ryan Middleton, Ezra McIntosh, and Cole Rohan, all these people that help out, and then Eric Jorgensen, and, you know, just Dalton Sheets, man. I mean, you can't say enough about middle school programs. You know, Matt, you know, you had Doug Hislop, you know, was kind of your guy, and I knew that that's something that I always needed to find, and I really feel like for my coaching tenure, like, I really feel like our middle school coaches are the best in the state. I mean, they won the middle school state tournament, you know, and they were poised to win that this last year. It's every division, right? 6A, any place, New Burrs, Kirk Counties, everybody, you know, all the tough guys, Burns, everybody, and Culver, you know, all the tough teams, and you know, it's pretty cool. And, you know, Matt Wolcott, you know, Dalton Sheets, and you know, and Miles Hancock. You can't. I mean, those guys are, and so we're just blessed, you know.
Hey, Miles was a state champion for Pendleton.
1979.
Went on and wrestled at University of Oregon, and then he coached up in Alaska, and then my wife Marilyn was a real estate agent. She got a call, and he said, "This is Miles Hancock, and I'm looking for some real estate." And she said to him, "You mean the famous Miles Hancock?" And,
not as famous as you, though. So.
Well, he's more.
Hey, I would say about Miles, like, I don't know, like, the greatest thing I think I can say about Miles is he's my own kids' coach. Mm-hmm. He's allowed me to be a coach, and it's hard to coach your own kids, and I think at times, I mean, my kids have made it kind of easy on me, but Miles is, you know, he's been my own kids' coach, and Braden and Kai would do anything for Miles, and so that's, you know, that's cool. He's a pretty phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
I wanted to add on to not only the middle school, but when I was growing up in this little town, we did grade school wrestling as well. And one of the things he needs credit for is that he got a hold of us very young. We had the Optimus program when we were 6, 7, 8 years old, exposing these kids, all these kids around town, to come up there and have just organized mayhem, have fun, go home, get a handshake and a pat on the back. And then come grade school time, Verl would take the high school athletes and designate so many kids per grade school. And then if you coached, he'd throw in a jacket or something. I didn't know till later, but my Willow School coach was Greg Barber. The coach up at Central was Richard Wilkins. You know, and so he was not only with Doug Hissel at middle school, but he went on even further.
Oh, yeah.
Great job with grade school.
Yeah, I haven't mentioned Doug enough.
Yeah.
Doug's outstanding with kids.
Yeah,
Talk
absolutely.
about taking somebody up to cut wood and do all that kind of stuff.
Me.
And
Me?
yeah, you were in his class, weren't you?
Student top for Douglas.
Yeah, went
Yeah,
elk hunting.
he had more state champions in his 6th grade class. The kids eventually ended up being state champions at the high school level. You know, the Jorgensen, the Hawthorne kids, they're just to mention a few.
He's
And
amazing.
It is a family situation. Hey, you know, like the McCann boys, the Hawthorne brothers, what are some other ones? The Carson boys,
Yeah.
The Kerrs now.
Yeah,
the
Kerrs.
Kerrs.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, it just
Yeah.
goes.
Viciniuses right now, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Livingston's too.
Livingston's, yeah. Look at that family, you know. Wyatt will be a sophomore, you know, this year.
She's state place. That's freshman. The other two were state champions too, right?
Yeah. The Eli Elijah was a state champ, and Grayson was in the finals. Yeah.
It was different competition just to come out of the league when Clell was in high school. It really was something. A lot of guys didn't become a district. If you was a placer at district, you were going to be a placer at the state tournament if you were in the IMC, because you had Bend, Mountain View, Crook County, Redmond, Hermiston, Pendleton, LeGrand. You know,
So you guys were in the big schools then.
and we were in the big schools, and we were going against Newburghs and all those. You know, this year at least I think Clell the worst he would have gotten was 2nd place, and that because of Crescent Valley High School. That's about the only one I could see that.
Yeah.
And they had an unbelievable team.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Reesers, you know, is kind of similar, I think, you know, as far as quality of competition. And yeah, I think, like Verl, I think what our strength was this year, or this past year, was our dual meet team, you know. And it's
Your
kind of
depth.
different. Yeah,
Had great depth,
Yeah,
too.
depth and dual meet.
What bunch of fun
You
kids.
could rotate kids around, and I mean, just,
wonderful.
you know, 106 all the way through 285, you know, heavyweight. There was just, it was a really tough dual meet team. I mean, they won the Classic for the first time, and
That's
you know,
the way the
know.
82 team was.
Yeah.
yeah, similarities
In
there.
year one at Oregon City, when they were starting that class, we went and sped through those guys too.
Yeah.
Just deep.
Yeah, and they wrestle well for each other. I mean, some teams, they wrestle well for each other more, I think, than, you know, it's kind of interesting, like in wrestling, you know, like dual meets, I feel like, you know, you're wrestling more for your teammates or individual tournaments, you know.
Family, it's part of.
Yeah.
Dual meets are my
Truly.
favorite, you know.
Love
For your
dual meets.
brothers.
It's a family, yeah.
Yeah.
You get like, hey, you pinned my guy, but I got to go, you know.
Yeah. And you always try to one up each other too. Like I
Yeah.
noticed in dual mates, like someone gets a pen, like, oh, I'm gonna go get a pen faster, you know.
Duels
Yeah.
are a lot about momentum, just getting things
Yeah.
rolling. No one
Yeah.
wants to be that one person to lose.
No.
Nobody wants to be the one
Yeah,
person that
but-
doesn't pin
Yeah.
or get those bonus points.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
the
pretty
one
cool.
thing about Clow is that he never gives up on somebody. When he first started out his career, he was worried about the guy that didn't come to practice more than others, and that's something that changed. He knew what priorities changed, but he was not a giver upper on somebody to be successful and help him out.
Kudos to Verl too, because I carried a lot of those philosophies you talked about not giving up, and I work now in a job where I work in juvenile justice with kids that society's kind of given up on first. So there's a lot of consideration for those kind of opportunities, and you know, I think of Verl in the philosophies of coaching and in life in general, and the follow through. But I think of what he said. There's 2 reasons when I was a kid you should never lose, and he doesn't even know I remember this. He said, one's your conditioning, and number 2 is your preparation, because you have 100% control over that. And it's followed me through in my life, and even when I've had job interviews for this or that, you know, Verl, I'll talk on the phone, and he'll say, how you doing? And I'll say, hey, 10 seconds to go, I'm down by 1. And he knows what I mean by that, because we have philosophy, we're going to beat people on your feet, we're going to score. right? And I know that sounds maybe a little, off, but it's just that idea of competing in life.
Sounds off to other people, not the wrestling community.
Yeah.
The wrestling community understands that completely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway.
every one of us didn't reach the goal we wanted to, Destin.
Yeah.
And it made us better
Mm-hmm.
and more dedicated.
Yeah.
Chloe knows about it too.
Yeah, I always hear the deal when people say, "Hey, you live through kids," and oh, this guy's living through a kid. I lived a long time through kids. I still live through kids. I still live through, kids this year, man. It's pretty fun.
Well, that's what it's about. I mean, if I want our world to be a better place, we need to live through them. They need to be able to
be better, right?
Be better, yeah.
In your administration that you have, the support you have from the principal and the school board and your parents are big factors in success.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they really support us, man. I mean, man, to think about our administration right now, a lot of times, people will, our conversations start out, Clell, and then, they find a way to help out and the things that we're trying to do good for kids. And, that's for sure. You can't be successful, I don't think, without that support.
One time I had in my PE class, a kid was acting up and I ran across and grabbed him, and they're not supposed to grab anybody, and told him that I didn't want to hear it, and of course then I was in trouble, and Dale Wyatt, the principal and the parents would come in there, and I was sitting there and I told the principal what happened, and he said, "Well, what would you do if you were there and the kid was there?" And he put it back on the parents, and then when the parents left, he said, "Don't ever do that again, bro. It's really hard to support you."
So when you guys were when you were growing up and stuff, the college wrestling was still around. They cut it in when did they cut it?
79.
79.
So
it wasn't there when it was there.
Really?
It just didn't exist. Yeah. Sadly, truly, because it created created less opportunity for sure.
Well, after, but was it around when you were growing up or not?
It was around when I was growing up.
How was that? Cause we still we run practices. We'll run a youth practice once a week, and we're pretty connected with the high school and the youth program.
Were they connected within the community? Did they?
You guys are more connected than when I first came to LeGrand.
Yeah, you are more connected. You could go up and watch that, and I go into style. There was a few times I remember I drove Verl and Schimmel to Hillsborough when I was early in my teaching career, and I said, "Hey, what was a secret to your success there in those days with those days?" He says, "Well, Coach Odegaard," he says, wasn't the technician. He said he relied on a lot of player coaches like myself and others that were there, and that program, and it's kind of disappeared. It was something I watched as a kid and admired. But we were all in the gym in LeGrand. I knew what could be, and so at that time, Oregon State, Oregon, Southern Oregon were recruiting, and of course we were all wishing that there was a program here. So I'm just thankful that the Mounties have a program back. I mean that for all the kids that grew up over here, and kids that want to aspire for that. But getting back to that, I will just say that the coaches that were in high school when I was there with Verl, we were the big school. We were also ranked number 1. Pendleton was ranked number 2, and then the next step down, Mackay was ranked number 1. So even in our league, we're not the best. And I don't want to say that like it's gratuitous or anything, but it's the quality of competition. And when you had, a national champion, Roland Schimmel, a national champion, Chuck Holliday, national champion, these were all the high school coaches that were there, kind of giving back too. And then, with our experiences there with Verl, priceless. So I think there's a desire to want you to succeed and want the kids in LeGrand and Eastern Oregon University to succeed and win a national championship and to win a state title. And like Clell knows, I've texted him. It's more than trophies and medals. Yeah. I've thanked him before. Thanks for making good people. Right?
Yeah. How many of you guys won a state championship in high school? Yeah. You won a high school state championship?
Yeah, just one.
Just you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a secret handshake for state champion. You guys were in that club.
Yeah.
Go Burns High School.
Whoa, very good. Burns High
Hey,
School.
you et that out.
That's funny. Yeah.
Hey, he was the first state. You were the first state champion at Burns High School, right?
First state champion in anything. That's hard to believe.
Okay.
But,
Oh, wow.
But what about?
We've had a lot since then.
What
Oh
about-
man, they
you've
had a
coached-
million of them.
I mean, like you never won a state title, or but you've coached quite a few, didn't you?
Well, your coach was on a 96 team right there at Glad, and I was blessed because they made a knucklehead like me look good. Right? But there were 3 state champions on that team. There was a 3-time state champion at 171, which was my old weight, Ron Baumgartner.
Yeah.
Got a scholarship at Boise State. The 189 pounder, Dominic Frederickson, 2-time state champ at 189. And then there was Michael at 126. And he was, I think, the only athlete I ever coached that pinned his way through district and state. And I keep a picture of him jumping up in my arms with a big hug after that. And that was just a wonderful experience there, too. And I don't think psychologically it's lost on anybody, but those were the 2 weights I wrestled at in high school, which is 171 and 189. And so when you get back to the psychology of not winning, Clell and Coach, I think it made me, the setbacks like you, Blake, you'll learn that, is the setbacks make you more aware and more hungry to want to be able to do that. That isn't vicariously, but you can get everything right and still not win a state title.
That's true.
So it's just, so yeah, I mean, that's really good. So getting back to that, so a lot of connection.
I think watching when I coached high school as well, watching my athletes win a state championship, that was more fulfilling than I think winning my own state championship. And even the heartbreaks for kids that didn't win a state championship, you feel those too. You feel all the feelings that the kids are feeling. The heartbreaks makes you feel like crying. It's so many emotions in wrestling.
Yeah. Sometimes you throw like if you really understand like what goes into having success, whether it's like to win a district championship or a state championship or place or something like that. And sometimes as coaches we go crazy, right? Like people are like, "Chloe, why'd you just lose your mind out there?" And it's because the sacrifices those kids have put in. You know what I mean? And as time's gone along, I've changed. I used to be ridiculous, but I mean it's you realize, and you have kids that come along and say, "Hey, I'm okay." You don't need to whatever, and that teach us lessons too. And but there's the sacrifice they put in. It's so hard to watch them lose.
Part of the deal is sometimes you got kids out there, their ability. They don't have the ability to be a state champion. They're not that quick, they're strong. But if they're good teammates, they come there every day, they work their tails off. I've never seen one of those kids who have not been successful in life. More important, you can be a state champion and be a loser if you don't do the right things.
Amen.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Chance. So you said that, man. Chance Frederick came to my mind. I think about that kid.
That's what I thought about when he was saying that, because you always talk about him just as a good teammate and everything.
Yeah, just one of my heroes, man. He's just he's a state champion in life. He's just, man, there's not a better kid.
Josh Freeman.
Oh yeah, whatever. There wasn't, maybe I don't have that medal or whatever, but man, that's what's about.
Verl's not telling you too that he was the greatest freshman football coach in the history of the world. So I call him up on the phone and I say, "Hey, this is Sports Illustrated. I want to talk to the greatest freshman football coach in the history of the United States." And there's this pause. What do you want, right? Yeah. But the funny part of that is, life comes full circle. I was the head freshman coach at Canby High School. We made 3 title runs in football, and I was blessed with some really great coaches that I got to coach with as assistant, and blessed with some great kids. But when we finally ended up winning that last game in that league, it was difficult, but we ran the table, went 8-0. The funny thing is, first thing I thought about was Verl Miller, because we went undefeated, won the league, and they went on to pursue a state title. But I thought about all the ragtag kids that he had coached like that, and so I said, "Hey, Verl, I did it too." And you coach like you were coached, and so that whole football story was really, really fun. It was a group effort with the guys there. It was family, but it was fun to do that. In that case, like I said.
We had something that happened on that team over at Pendleton. We went over there to play Pendleton, And I told them before the game, I said, hey, we don't have a tape. Can we get a tape of this game? They said yes. And they, at that time, they put you in the men's
latrine
to
with a big
dress
trough
down
where
in the
they
halftime and everything.
smelled like.
Hey, so at halftime, we were behind like 18-0.
Oh, more like. Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, we asked them before the game if we'd, could have that tape. And then at halftime, they come out, you still want that tape when they were up 18 or 20-0. We come back and won the game. Never did get that tape.
Oh.
It was over in Pendleton. But it made these guys come together like you'd never seen before, And so it was a fun time.
That was a seminal moment in getting into high school there, because I realized the psychology looking back at the good cop, bad cop routine, right? So Doug had come in, Hislop. Doug out there, thank you. You've really upset Verl Miller in there. He said, I don't know if I can listen him down. So Doug exits out, and it smelled terrible in there. They had a big trough there for the latrine of the old Cowboys. And the field was torn up. They'd had the roundup, so we had to go for holes and all kinds of things.
Where the roundup
played
was?
out, yeah, where the roundup was. So it was torn up field. And I don't know how many touchdowns. He says we had like 3 touchdowns called back on that, and I'll just leave it at that. But and then Verl came in and yeah, it wasn't like Lou Holtz. It was a little different than that. Probably more like Vince Lombardi, right? But that's going to stay in the memory bucket there. But it was good. It was pretty effective.
How many titles did you have? You were an AD, a football coach too, wrestling for how many years? Were you a teacher?
A very good one.
PE teacher.
No, I was fortunate to
You did it all.
have the career I had. I feel very blessed that, because of my family and I don't think there's a better profession than being a teacher and a coach.
No.
And being able to help somebody out. There's no better place, I think being a teacher is an outstanding profession.
Blake should start now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Try to screw him up every day.
Yeah. Learning through the pandemic though, online
Yeah.
teaching, distance learning.
Oh my, I don't know how I probably couldn't have handled it.
Yeah.
It's really tough times right now for athletics and society and families and the whole works.
You got some good news though, huh? Maybe. Or Elena
With
got some
what?
good
Oh,
news.
with sports starting
yeah.
back up.
Yeah.
Not for contact sports still.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we're
Man,
still
Elena
holding
was
off
all
on
excited
contact
last
sports.
night,
We're
or
waiting.
The night before or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 nights ago. Yep. So we're still kind of on a holding pattern. As soon as they say we can have contact, we'll be set to go. But
Yeah.
you know,
He'll probably go. He'll probably call us that night. He gets a call probably if he gets a call at like 9:30. Be like, oh, we got practice at 10. Get in the room.
Yeah,
He'll get us
I'm
a
excited to
call
get out of the
outside.
room and start wrestling. So
Okay.
I know the guys are too, though.
Yeah.
But they're holding in there. I mean, for not being able to with wrestling, how tough it is. You got to at least release some energy by beating up on somebody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're just
it's tough right
working
now. We're
out.
just working out, so they're ready to start beating up on each other or somebody. And so
Yeah.
we're chomping at the bit, but we're waiting. They know that as soon as we
Shadow
get to go.
wrestling really
Man, I
sounds
thought it was
fun.
for everybody.
Shadow
you know?
wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a perfect arm drag double.
He's talking about shadow wrestling.
Yeah. Shadow
Shadow
wrestling's
wrestling.
getting old. They're beating up on their shadow a little too much.
Getting sore.
Yeah, that's good.
Stance of motion.
Yeah.
Hey, right now for us, we're just in the I'm meeting with seniors on Friday, and we're gonna start talking about what's coming up, what they what we can do this season, and kind of make what their goals, what they want to be. And kids are out selling ads for our program, our annual program, which features our seniors, and that's probably the thing that I'm having the hardest time with is thinking about those kids that are seniors like Braxton and Bella and and Alex and Ryan and the kids that put in the time and now they're a senior and it's like they're going to be the elite kid. I look at some of those kids I mentioned and so excited for them hopefully to have a season. But anyways, that program and they're out selling ads for that, try to at least showcase them as their senior year. So that's where we're at. Just waiting, finish up football, and get ready to go.
For the EOU side, when it comes down to fundraising, one of the big fundraisers we do is the Hometown Heroes, and our guys reach out to their local communities and try to get a what's it called? Just a sponsor. Is what
you can sponsor an athlete.
And so you're able to sponsor an athlete, get an ad put into our roster, and we also upped it this year. So if they've donated a little bit more, they can get like some Eastern Oregon wrestling gear. The more that they donate, the more things that they'll receive. So we got some guys going around asking their hometowns about that. Also, next year's going to be tough for us. I mean, it's with recruiting wise, just because a lot of the guys that we expected to wrestle this year, I think we're going to hold them back, and we're kind of in a holding pattern. And I want them to get the best out of their college career as they can. And so in order for that to happen, we'll probably end up redshirting instead of having them wrestle their senior year and bring them all back next year. It's not a bad thing. But when it comes down to recruiting, we're maxed out when it comes to scholarship money. And so we're definitely going to have to start fundraising and get some scholarship money built up to start bringing people in. And so our minds are turning. If anyone has ideas out there how to get scholarship money, get a hold of me. And then if anyone wants to sponsor any of our guys as well, feel free to reach out as well.
Thank you for watching today. We're just going to start wrapping things up, and just want to thank Mr. Nelson, as I always call him, because he's my neighbor growing up, and then Verl Miller. Thank you for coming on the show today. You guys have anything to say? Any comments?
Just that I'm thankful, and I'm very, very proud to be here, and proud of your efforts there, and I'll always be a proud Tiger and a proud Mountie, and I want the best in the world for you guys, and I feel so very blessed to have friends and coaches like that too. So shoot for the stars. Yeah.
Hey, the same thing. I really appreciate all the coaches are doing for the kids, and wish them the best this next year. It's a hard situation when somebody has the goal set and they work their hearts out, and then they're not able to just even compete. Let's hope that they're able to compete this year and have a program.
I'm so excited to get Wrestling Wednesday started back up. I love following wrestling. I love covering it. It's super fun. I got my boy Marco Rotano a tripod and a camera holder so he can stream the wrestling on Sunday for EOU down in Reno. I'll share that right here so you guys can watch it. I'm pumped about wrestling. My son's wrestling, so it's drawn me in even more. So let's go. EOU, Grande wrestlers, let's go. I'm super excited about Wrestling Wednesdays. None of this is possible, though, without Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They're my dudes, man. The Daggett family. They sponsor the show. It's that circle I talk about. So, I present you guys with this stuff, and what I ask for in return is for you to like and follow, and then go support the sponsors like Northwest Furniture and Mattress, and go check out their showroom because they're killing it. It's beautiful in there. Off Elm, on Adams, in Grande, big red rocking chair, Northwest Furniture and Mattress. One last thing before I go. CHD Public Health, Friday, 10 to 2. They're having a vaccination event. If you need the first dose, if you need a booster, if you have a pediatric vaccination need, go there between 10 and 2. You don't have to pre-register. You can register there. And if you want to get vaccinated, that's the place to go on Friday. Eastern Oregon, that's all I got for you on a Thursday. I appreciate you. I'm Dodsey, and I'm out.